Delegate Gilbert.
Judge, thank you for going through this lengthy process, and we understand I assume everybody's here to see you and see us talk to you. There was a lot of confusion last year about how your oath and your activism, were both present or not present, or how one tread upon the other or didn't. And that's one of the reasons I didn't vote in your previous election, is because those questions were not answered for me, and I feel like they've been satisfactorily answered for me. I like putting prosecutors on the bench generally, having come from that background. I especially like putting tough prosecutors, as you have a reputation of being, or had a reputation of being, unlike Lou Pazzi there. I like putting people with that background on the bench, and so that's one of the things that I've used to speak up on your behalf. But I think some of our members still have concerns generally about the fact that you have been, I would think, admittedly been an activist for something you believe in very passionately, and knowing what I know about, and all the lawyers up here know about what you do now professionally, that you hear speeding tickets and trespassing cases, and maybe if you do some civil stuff, some landlord-tenant and people who owe money to other people. Not a lot of opportunities, in my opinion, for you to do that, even if you chose to do it. So would you allay the concerns of people who believe that you're somehow going to be an activist judge in that same area?
Sure. I think that's a fair question, too. When I think of an activist, I think of someone, the tree hugger who chains himself to a tree in the redwood forest, someone who chains himself to a nuclear facility, wants it shut down, or someone who conducts sit-ins in the halls of this legislature or on the steps of the Capitol, as we saw last year. Those are individuals who are willing to advance their cause through acts of civil disobedience. They will violate the law, violate regulations, perhaps violate their oath. I didn't take those actions. There were members of the armed forces who spoke up against Don't Ask, Don't Tell, wore their uniform, and chained themselves to the White House fence. That is an act of civil disobedience. It's a violation of order, and it's a violation of your oath as an officer. I understand that people may see what I did as activism, but you can make darn sure that I did not take the steps that I did without reading the regulations, without consulting lawyers, and making sure that I was not just following the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law, to say, this policy hurts. It hurts good people. And we're not here to litigate the propriety of the military's old policy, the newer one, Don't Ask, Don't Tell, or its repeal. But I want you to understand that that's why I did what I did. I did it within the framework of the rules that had been laid out to me. Since I left the military, I've worked with Equality Virginia. And I advocated for such radical things as expanding the right to health care for someone to be able to get insurance for their partner. I'm not going to lie and say that I don't one day want the opportunity to marry my partner. We married 15 years ago in the Episcopal Church across the street from our house. I'd like that to happen, but that's not my role as a judge. I will well and dutifully follow the rules, the laws, and the regulations. I know that when I put on a black robe, and even when I take that robe off and go home, that I am held to a different standard of an everyday citizen. There are a whole lot of things that I used to have opinions on that these days in conversations, people ask me about it, and I say, that's interesting. because that's what you expect of your members of the judiciary.